I'm Adriana Craciun and I lead the organizational development work at the Oak Foundation. Despite the fact that I have a degree in bridge engineering, I started my professional career as an environmental activist back in my native country of Romania in the beginning of the 90s, where we experienced huge growth of the civil society as a result of the political changes in the country and in the region in general. I moved on to work for a regional grant maker in Budapest who was operating at the East European level. We were providing grants and capacity building for newly formed organizations, and there is where I became much more interested in capacity building and organizational strengthening, because we could see that despite all the funding and the support available to the civil society, a lot of the organizations were disappearing or they were not performing at their best when changes in the external environment happened. So I went on to pursue a master in organizational development, and then many years later I arrived at the Oak Foundation in 2013. When the foundation started a more systematic approach and work in capacity development and organizational strengthening as a result of a grantee perception survey, which was done in 2011, and which showed that our partners appreciated the funding which they received from the foundation, but also wanted more support beyond grant making in capacity development. So most of our staff here come from the civil society, or they have worked with the civil society for a very long time. So they know that our partner organizations face challenges which undermine their effectiveness. And the most common ones which we actually see in our work are challenges related to funding, leadership, or communication. And sometimes these challenges are actually enhanced by the fact that these partners operate in very restrictive environments for the civil society, or in environments where there is a low availability of funding. So at the core of our capacity building work, we provide support to individual grantees to grow and develop. And we hold a very strong ethos in the foundation that actually this work has to be led and owned by the grantees, and it has to be tailored to their needs. So at the heart of our vision, we have the grantees, which need to be supported in their learning journeys, and they need to have access to appropriate support to become stronger and achieve their social justice goals. So I would like to talk about some of the types of support we are providing. This diagram actually shows that the main actors in this work are our partners who receive the organizational development, the capacity building support, Oak staff and our own internal practices around capacity development, and the practitioners who are actually the experts in the field and support us and our grantees with this work. We have a few levels here. The foundational level is where we support our grantees with compliance issues. So this is where our grantees need to comply with financial, taxation, or legal regulations in their own country, and they can receive the support to do that. Sometimes we call this the survival levels, because this is what organizations need to exist and be safe. This ranges from support to comply with regulation restricting foreign funding in some countries to compliance with current laws regulating the civil society or assessing security risks, but also issues such as having a sound financial control and oversight. The direct response level is where a lot of our capacity building work is focused. This is where we respond to specific challenges which organizations face in their daily work, be that leadership or funding or program design, and we provide this support either at an individual level or for a group of grantees. The third level, we have the organizational development. This is where we fund a more complex form of support for those organizations who are undergoing some form of change process. They either change the geography in which they operate, they change program focus, or they have an important leadership transition. These changes affect the whole system of the organization and require them to invest time and effort to undergo this change, but also requires them to be quite robust and solid in order to do it. This is a more demanding work for all these three groups, and it involves a typical organizational development process of organizational assessment, development plan, and implementation of the strengthening process. These levels are not mutually exclusive. A grantee who is receiving support at this level may find itself requiring support at the foundational level because something in the operating environment might have changed meanwhile. So this brings me to the top of the diagram where we have what we call field building. This is where Oak can invest strategically to support groups of organizations who want to affect social change in the environment in which they operate, or where we support civil society groups or organizations who provide support to the civil society, such as capacity development providers. So how can a partner receive support for capacity development from the Oak Foundation? We have our own grant-making mechanism, and we have four types of support, 4 types of grants through which we provide this support. One is through the programmatic grants, where capacity building can be one of the objectives. The other one, and very important for our grantees, are the core support grants, where partners have discretion at using this opportunity to strengthen their organization. The other one are grants which are dedicated entirely, grants or program of grants which are dedicated entirely to capacity building. And finally, grants to intermediary organizations who are capacity builders in the field or in a certain geography, and which can help partners with a strengthening process. I want to show actually a little bit the value of this purple circle. This diagram shows the results of a mapping we did in 2013, and we showed that 60% of our grants actually have a capacity building component, and we invested 23.5 million in capacity development in that year, which actually represented approximately 10% of our total grant-making process. This shows that organizational strengthening plays a very important role in our foundation and in our work. If you are an Oak grantee and you think you need capacity development support, please get in touch with your program officer or myself, or see more information on our website.